Hello, this is Katie Sweetman with Empowering Astrology, and this is another live look at the astrology of October 19th through 25th, 2020. So yes, we are here together for another week to look not just at the astrology, but to start to put the threads together. So something that I sometimes tell my clients is that I'm a big picture astrologer. I want to know, how does this week connect to the bigger picture? And I spoke about this in my update for my Libra New Moon report. I've been speaking about this in previous lives. I've been speaking about this in my horoscopes, is how this week and this kind of energy of the new moon that we had last week, as we kind of go into this new week, it connects to something that began in 2008. So, I want to talk about that a little bit more. But before we dive into that, this week we are sort of coming to the end of Libra season, which means it's the end of a season that's devoted towards relationships, meaning all relationships. How do we connect with people? How do we interact? How do we socialize? How do we compromise and negotiate? And on October 22nd, we're going to go into Scorpio season. So my favorite season, because it's my birthday season. But for Scorpio season, for the rest of us, it's a time when we all have to dive into life's unknowns. Scorpio season is a time that speaks to the psyche. It speaks to intimacy, vulnerability, needing to open up to other people. If Libra is relationships, then Scorpio is what happens behind closed doors. There's a sense of privacy. There's a sense of the things, secrets between people. So this is a time when we're sort of diving into emotional material that might make us feel a little uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Every sign of the zodiac builds on each other. So we kind of step from Libra, we go into Scorpio season this week. But if you are watching live, put a hello in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from. What I've been telling people is I can't travel right now. Let me know where you're watching this from. I know I have people that are waking up in Australia and listening to me live. I know you're here with me in the United States, or you're in Canada, you're in parts of Europe or beyond. So thank you for joining me week after week. I really deeply appreciate it. But let's look at the astrology this week and let's talk a little bit more about this Libra new moon. Now, if you go back to, say, last week's broadcast, I talked about the Libra new moon. I talked about what it meant for each sign. So just a quick recap: the new moon means it's a new lunar month. So we went on October 16th, last Friday, into a new lunar month. And this lunar month comes at the end of Libra season, but it means that we are sort of taking the energies of Libra into Scorpio season. So we are dealing with relationships. And this new moon, it made what are called squares, hard contact to Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, also made an opposition to Mars. So this new moon also ties into this Saturn and Pluto energy that we've been working through pretty much all of 2020. I mean, we had the conjunction back in January, but you could say since Saturn has been in Capricorn at the start of 2018, 2019, 2020, not easy years, because Saturn is in the same sign as Pluto, and Saturn will leave Capricorn on December 17th. So I keep telling people we got 2 more months. Now, does this mean that everything after December 17th is going to be perfect? Probably not, but it's going to be different, a different chapter. And the point that I've been trying to make, and what I was saying at the beginning of 2020 when we were talking about, well, what's the astrology of 2020 going to be like? Well, 2020 was always going to be that year that sort of brought to a culmination, brought to a head a lot of seeds that were planted at this point 12, almost 13 years ago. So think back, 2008, where were you? Where were you? What were you doing? 2008 to 2009 for a lot of people were not easy years, but there was a story that began based on where Capricorn is in your chart in relation to your sun or in relation to your rising sign. And you can go back in the show notes. I have a link. I think I have a link. I'll have to double check. It's, yeah, I do. It's Saturn and Capricorn sign by sign. There's even something on Pluto, Pluto and Capricorn sign by sign. So you know what area of your life has been undergoing a complete and total gut transformation since the start of 2008. Like I can think back for me, start of 2008, I was in a terrible relationship, aren't we all? But it was the start of a massive chapter in my life. It was a part of my life that was about money and value and autonomy and personal power and rebirth and finding my place in the world. You know, I'm Sagittarius rising. So this, you know, for Capricorn is Sagittarius's money sign. It was a time when I was doing a completely different career. I have 20-year background in IT and graphic design, but 2008 was the year of my Saturn return. And this might be a little bit intermediate for some of you people, but if you know astrology, and I love, you know, like love talking about Saturn at this point. I know it's a little bit of a, you know, like a recurring theme in my work, but Saturn returns to where it is in the sky at the moment that we're born, but it happens once every 29 years. So age 29 is a really pivotal year for everybody. It's like the real step into maturity. It's when you basically say to life, okay, I'm doing this. I'm signing up. I'm taking responsibility. I'm going to become an adult. I'm going to work on my karma. I'm going to build something of myself for this life. So I have my Saturn return in 2008, and my life is a disaster at this point. I'm like a bomb, you know, Scorpio bomb has gone off. Saturn has just kind of completed its time through my 8th house. If you've ever been through Saturn through the 8th, it's not an easy time. So I have my Saturn return, and I'm, you know, I was at a party maybe a year before, and somebody had said to me like, oh, you're about to go through your Saturn return, you know, good luck. And little did I know, but because everything was so difficult suddenly, I was like, there has to be a reason. And I went and I looked up about the Saturn return, and I was like, sure enough, I was like, wait a second, you mean I can predict, depending on where Saturn is in the sky, like what the structure of my life is going to feel like, or what's going on. So it was a huge light bulb moment. And it brought me over, you know, the course of now almost 13 years, it brought me to you all tonight. You know, brought me to astrology, because it was in that 2008 moment that was, you know, kind of the light bulb went off and I came to astrology. I was already into astrology. I'd been into astrology since I was a teenager, but, you know, going next level, being able to kind of follow patterns, follow the planets, and be able to connect the dots, that was a huge, you know, thing for me. So that was my 2008 story, and I can look back and I can see all these different moments in time that thread all the way here to the present moment. You know, fast forward 12 years, and now I'm not doing IT anymore. I'm doing this. I'm working with you all every week. You know, some of you who are on the live chat who are also my clients. So we've worked together one-on-one. This is why I'm kind of sharing a little bit about my story, how even though there was this seed of time 12 years ago that for many of you may have been very difficult, maybe you can see how something really remarkable came out about it, because Pluto during this 12-year arc of time it's trying to show you something that's not working. There's some part of your life that was not working, and Pluto very helpfully, it's almost like kind of reaching into the pipes, pulling things out, and it's saying, look what I found. This is not working. This is not sustainable. We have to change this, or here we have to rip down the walls, or here we have to rip out the floors. So fast forward to this week, or even last week, with the new moon that was at the end of last week. It's going to be, and it has been, really connecting to this Pluto and Capricorn energy that we've felt so much in 2020. You know, I called it, at the very beginning of the year, I called it the wrecking ball. And I was like, I don't know, guys, going into 2020, this Capricorn is about structure, the structure of our lives, the structure of our personal lives, the structure of our world. Pluto is showing us what's not working. Saturn is like we have to tear down so that we can rebuild. So I'm, talking about this so that we can get a sense of the bigger picture. And maybe you can start to connect the dots. You can go and read my Libra New Moon report. The link is in the show notes. How maybe you can see how this week, it is about relationships, but it's always going to connect back to the bigger picture. And on a little bit more of an intermediate point, if you are an astrology student, your experience with any planet, whether it's Mercury, whether it's Mars, whether it's Pluto, is always going to thread back to where Pluto was the moment that you were born. For me, Pluto is on my midheaven, at the very top of my chart. So Pluto is always going to be about my public life, about putting myself out there, my professional life. For some of you, it might be relationships or home and family. So this is, kind of give you this understanding, this broader understanding of what's been happening, because 2020 is the show me the receipts year, where Saturn met up with Pluto in January, and we had to kind of show Saturn that we've been doing our work in one particular area of our life. So here we are. We got 2 months until December 17th when Saturn leaves Capricorn. We have our Saturn exit interview, Saturn and Capricorn exit interview at the beginning of December, where we show Saturn that we've gotten the message, that we've shown Pluto as well, that we've done the work, that we've stepped up into some role of authority in our lives or in the world, or like I said, even me sitting here before you week after week talking about the astrology. I just like to do this because I'm kind of a nerd. I think that all astrologers at heart are kind of nerds, because it's about history. It's about looking at the different patterns, and I get to share what I love on a day-to-day or on a week-to-week basis. So that's what is sort of in the background as we come into this week. And, with Venus right now is in Virgo. It's sort of coming up to the lunar nodes this week. It's coming up to contacts to Saturn and Pluto. And so this week we're at a crossroads. Venus is squaring the lunar nodes on October 20th. I think that's Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, October 20th. So pay attention to what stories are coming up this week, what relationship stories. It doesn't even, even if you're not in a relationship, what is that kind of thing that's coming up? How do you interact? How do you connect? How do you socialize? Because when Venus is on the node, sometimes there's like an old story, like a faded story, or having to make a decision about an existing relationship or somebody from the past coming into your, life. And so that we're sort of turning a corner this week, and we already know that this week is seeded with these Libra New Moon energies. And maybe whatever is happening, it's part of the bigger picture. To pay attention that week, because Venus, it's trines Jupiter today, October 19th. Tomorrow it squares the nodes. Then it trines Pluto. I believe that's on the 20th or 21st, and then trines Saturn. So it's very much about relationships this week, connections. That said, Mars makes its second square to Jupiter today, Monday, October 19th. Now, Mars has been retrograde since September 9th. Now, Mars doesn't go retrograde very often. It only happens every couple of years. And so as Mars, which is in Aries right now, it's going backwards in the sky. And it's sort of, boom, 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 hitting all those planets that have been piling up in Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto. Now it's Jupiter. Mars made a square to Jupiter back on August 4th. It does its second square. I believe the third square is January 23rd of 2021. So it's kind of this back and forth, the thing that's going on. But Jupiter as a planet, it really talks about bigger pictures. It's one of those kind of more karmic, causal level planets. What's our faith? What do we believe in? What's our truth? What's our meaning? Mars can be very provocative. The thing about Mars retrograde is that we can't do Mars the way that we normally would do Mars. Mars is normally very impulsive. It's very rash. It wants to take action, it wants to lead, it wants to have a lot of bravery, courage. Can't do that right now. It has to sort of take a second look, kind of how it would normally react. So maybe if something's coming up this week, especially if something's coming up in relationships for you this week, how do you maybe react differently? How do you examine your instincts? Examine how you would normally push or pull or use your power or exert yourself and over a situation. How would you take power, take charge over a situation? Because with Mars retrograde, we have to kind of do things a little differently. Further, Mercury is retrograde this week. So it's retrograde until November 3rd. So we already are in a time with Mars and Mercury retrograde. Like the story is not quite clear at the moment. We can't quite move forward the way that we want to move forward. We have to go back. We have to look at the past. Maybe that's why I've got 2008 on the brain right now. Speaking of Mercury, Mercury opposes Uranus for the second time. The first time, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, it makes its second opposition to Uranus on today, October 19th, 2020. Mercury is the planet of communication, information, ideas, the voice, and choices. And right now, again, it's retrograde. We have to take a second look at how we use our voice, how we communicate. We cannot use our voice impulsively. We need to kind of take a moment to reflect and be like, is this the best thing that I should be saying right now? That said, Mercury is opposing Uranus right now. You might receive information that challenges you, that inspires you, that awakens you, that shakes you, that shocks you. Because this opposition to Uranus says, however we are communicating, however we are using our voice, whatever we are choosing, it needs to be in alignment with our authentic self. I know that phrase is a little trite, but Uranus is this planet that sort of takes a look at us, and it says you're only using your voice. In the case of Mercury, you're only using it 5%, 10%, 20%. So how do you use your voice more? If you're terrified, speak up. Like maybe that's something that's really being, throat chakra, that's really starting to shake and open up for you during this week. If you are afraid to confront something, there's Mercury's in Scorpio right now. It's so much about secrets and the things we don't normally share and hidden information. Something that is pretty shockingly secret. So Mercury in Scorpio has been kind of revealing things. So maybe what is something that is being revealed to you is really kind of awakening and shaking how you communicate. We're coming off of the moon was in Scorpio this past weekend, and maybe you were having really profound, deep, illuminating, provocative, shocking conversations, ones that really shined a light on something that was previously hidden. I know I was having a conversation with a very close friend of mine. It's like the things that we don't see, but they're right in front of our faces. And here's Mercury opposite Uranus, and it's like, we were calling it, we were on a road trip, it's like we're calling it the billboard. It's like, what's on our billboard? Meaning, what is like right in front of our face and has been our whole life, and that we don't even see it because it's invisible. So maybe you are kind of getting this week like, this is what's on my billboard right in front of my face. Can't see it. That said, I was talking a few moments ago, like Venus kind of crossing the nodes this week. It's about relationships, it's about the choices that we make in relationships, needing to communicate and interact differently. But then, of course, it's Scorpio season come October 22nd. So yeah, shout out to my fellow Scorpios. The sun is moving into the 8th sign of the zodiac. The 8th sign of the zodiac, it takes us beyond, let's say, the pleasantries and niceties of Libra. Libra is so much about social charm, social grace, creating equity, creating balance, but then you sort of tip over into Scorpio and all that sort of goes out the window. There is an emotional intensity to Scorpio season. Things are raw, things are real. It's the like, hey, look at the deep dark secret that you won't even face and put it right in front of you so you can see it. Scorpio represents a necessary step in our evolution through the zodiac. The zodiac is a wheel of life. And we need Scorpio because otherwise we sort of stay in the safety, we stay in the comfort. Can be something very comfortable about Libra. Everything is kind of nice and pretty and balanced and harmonious. And then we kind of go into Scorpio, which is a Mars-ruled sign. And it's about the things that we don't want to talk about. And it's about the experiences that maybe we don't want to have, but they're necessary. They bring the pressure, they bring the emotional, spiritual, psychological transformation. You know, anybody who's a Scorpio or anybody who's a strong Scorpio in your chart, you're good in a crisis. You kind of get into gear when something happens. You sort of can focus. That's the Mars energy of Scorpio. And we all have Scorpio somewhere in our chart. So it's an energy that none of us can say, oh, I don't like Scorpio. I don't have anything in Scorpio. Well, Scorpio is somewhere in your chart. You know Scorpios. You know me. Even if you don't, kind of connect so much with Scorpio, Scorpio connects us to what's called the 8th house, the 8th room of the zodiac house. And again, it's a necessary place that we all have to go. We have to face ourselves. We have to face the things that we don't want to look at. We could skate through this, and we all visit Scorpio a couple times a month. The moon goes through Scorpio. It was this past weekend. We go there once a year. The sun goes through Scorpio for you when the sun is going through your 8th house of your chart. When you have to feel things and go deep and transform and shed your skin. And this is Scorpio's power. It's intensity. Sometimes it's too much. Scorpio season, it coincides with Halloween. That's not a coincidence. It was a time when the ancients knew that the veil was thin this time of year. So they would do the festivals, Day of the Dead and All Souls Day and the Catholic Church and Halloween with the pagans, and the sense that we communicate with the dead during this time. We communicate with our ancestors. We offer up to our ancestors. So this is why spooky season, Scorpio's spooky season. These things that we don't normally want to talk about when it's not Scorpio season. Ghosts, spirits, mediumship, psychic activity. So it's not a coincidence. So this Scorpio season is a little bit different because for half of it, we have Mars retrograde. So Mars in Aries gives Scorpio a lot of power. It makes Scorpio a little bit of a workaholic, and maybe we're kind of working really hard during the Scorpio season. We're working on projects, we're working on our health. We are really focused on getting organized and preparing and tidying up. But with the retrograde, we sort of have to revisit things from the past. We have to tie up loose ends. We have to go back to old projects. We have to revisit maybe a health issue that has been sort of in the background, we haven't quite been able to tackle. It's a time to clean out, to get clean, to purify, to face our inner demons, to face our inner shadows, face ourselves so that we can transform. Mars will go direct on November 13th. So that sort of takes us into that last week of Scorpio season. Mars going direct will kind of add a little bit more oomph to our Scorpio season. So this might seem like it's a little bit more of a different Scorpio season than usual. But that said, we're sort of spanning two different times this week. We're starting to feel the energy of Saturn wrapping up. FYI, and this is just me kind of as an astrologer thinking ahead, because we're coming up to the end of October, which means we're going to be going into November very soon, which then means that we're going to be going into eclipse season. Lest you have forgotten, there's going to be lunar eclipse on November 30th, and there's going to be a solar eclipse on December 17th. Start to pay attention to some of the things that are coming in, especially when the moon is in, say, Gemini or Sagittarius. These eclipse stories can start to come in a month or so before. If you are a Gemini or a Sagittarius, or have Gemini or Sagittarius rising, you're coming into a time when life's going to be a little bit loud. Eclipses make things happen. It sort of puts you at a personal crossroads. New things, new people are coming in and out of your life. For the rest of us, there's a part of our life where it's like the curtain comes down on one act and the curtain comes up on another. So that's sort of off in the horizon. I keep telling myself I need to kind of sit down with 2021 astrology. I just can't believe that we're already here this week. But that said, that's your look at the astrology this week of October 19th through 25th. I'm giving you homework. Like, go back, start to connect the dots, start to see how something that was planted in 2008, or a story that was initiated, or a phase of life that was initiated, has sort of had these different moments in time and maybe came to a head in its own way in 2018, 2019, and this year. And as Saturn starts to wrap up its time in Capricorn, I know you all are very happy about that, but we need to trust that there's a whole purpose to this time. Saturn is really trying to get us to be an authority over a particular area of our life right now, but Saturn's sort of demanding that the bar be set higher right now. So remember, what does Saturn want? Saturn wants balance in our lives. It wants integrity. It wants a sense of equity. It wants a sense of justice. It wants connection. It wants harmony. So if there's a particular area of your life where you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't understand what's going on, just do Saturn. Makes life a lot easier. Well, thank you so much for joining me. You can follow me on empoweringastrology.com, here on Facebook, Empowering Astrology. I'm also on Instagram. You can rewatch or perhaps you are watching the replay on my IG TV channel. I'm on Twitter. Sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the show notes. And thank you all again for connecting with me from time to time. Just kind of looking quickly through the comments. It's Sharia's birthday. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Happy birthday. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Debbie. I know, good riddance to Saturn. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in Club Saturn a little bit. But again, thank you all for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Bye.